LoveLore Library. Chapter 496, Exposing Su Yuru's corpse in the wilderness. Su Yingxue's hand was held by Yihan. She asked, "What if one have to investigate Wu Dao?" Yihan answered immediately, gripping her hand a bit tighter. "Can we not investigate?" "No. My mother's death is related to him. If he caused my mother's death, I will take revenge." Su Yingxue's attitude was firm. Even if she had to pay the price with her life, she would avenge her mother. Yihan's doting eyes were filled with helplessness. "All right, I'll allow you. If your highness allows it, aren't you afraid of danger?" Su Yingxue grabbed Yihan's hand with her other hand. She had selfish motives, and Yihan could protect her. However, she was more worried that she would implicate Yihan. "When have you ever seen I afraid of danger?" Yihan rubbed her little head. "That's true." Suddenly, he thought of something and said, "When one was out fighting, you were still a little dumpling." Su Yingxue was speechless. Yihan's words sounded strange. "Your Highness, are you mocking me for being young?" Yihan didn't mean that at first. He was just joking with her. However, once she got angry, she straightened her back and her chest naturally followed suit, entering Yihan's eyes. Yihan added, "It's not small." At her age, it was already very good for her to be like this. Su Yingxue thought that Yihan didn't mind her age, so she smiled and said, "It's good that your highness doesn't mind that I'm young." Yihan's gaze was fixed on her chest. He was very satisfied. "I don't mind. You're not young either. And, your highness is good." Su Yingxue threw herself into his arms. She wasn't young anymore. She should be his princess. Su Yingxue brought Su Yuru's corpse back to the Marquis Manor and explained the Marquis Manor. She also informed Su Dingheng at the same time. Su Dingheng cried when he saw Su Yuru's corpse. Su Yingxue did not care if he was in the mood to listen or if he was willing to listen. She still explained the cause of Su Yuru's death to him. Su Dingheng only cared about hugging Su Yurou and crying. He cried so powerlessly that he did not even bother to talk to her. He could not catch his breath and fainted from crying. "Get a doctor to treat him and throw Su Yurou out of the Marquis Manor." Su Yingxue looked coldly at Su Dingheng and Su Yurou. She didn't give Su Yurou a proper funeral. As for why, only she knew. In her previous life, her corpse was exposed in the wilderness, and her corpse was in a mess. It was all thanks to Su Yurou. In this life, why should she let Su Yurou die a good death? A tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye, that was the way of life. Yihan came to report Su Dingheng's situation to Su Yingxue. "Miss," after Marquis woke up, he found out that second young Miss had been thrown out of the Marquis Manor and cried until he fainted again. "He said that he wanted you to bury second young Miss grandly and also wanted her to be recorded in the genealogy." Su Yingxue's lips curled up coldly. "Go and tell him to keep dreaming." Reality. That was impossible. "Miss, regarding the second young Miss, you can ignore the many discussions outside, but if Marquis goes out and makes a ruckus, it's hard to guarantee that someone with ill intentions will find an excuse to deal with you," Yihan said worriedly for Su Yingxue. "It's fine. Then don't let him go out and make a fuss." Su Yingxue lowered her head and looked at the medical book in her hand. "Miss," Yihan paused. She realized that the current Su Yingxue was exceptionally different from other times. Chapter 497, Su Dingheng's Troubles. Although Yihan was Su Yingxue's closest maid, she had personally experienced a lifetime of blood feuds. Other than herself, no one else could understand it. So, Su Yingxue didn't share much with Yihan. After Yihan left, Su Dingheng stormed in angrily. Su Yingxue, you have everything now. Why won't you even grant your sister a funeral? She's your biological sister. Su Yingxue's lips curled in a mocking arc. Sorry, she had discarded that relationship when she returned to this life. Oh. She responded casually, then turned another page of the medical book, engrossed in her reading. Su Yingxue, are you even listening to me? Su Dingheng pounded his chest and stamped his feet. His frustration towards Su Yingxue boiled down to a single sentence. He knew that the power of the Marquis Manor was now in her hands, so he could only persuade her gently. Just think of it as a father's plea. Give Ruer a proper funeral, let her rest in peace, and allow her name to be recorded in the Su family's genealogy. Su Dingheng was a grown man, but he lowered his head and wiped his tears in front of Su Yingxue. If she was a soft-hearted person, she would have agreed to his request long ago. However, Su Yingxue remained focused on her medical book, responding with just 3 words, "It's not possible." Su Dingheng was so infuriated that he nearly fainted again. However, as Su Yingxue sought medical attention exclusively from a doctor and refused to examine him herself, he couldn't afford to let himself become too weakened. After all, someone needed to take care of Su Yuru's remains. Su Dingheng struggled to support his body and staggered out. Yihan followed Su Yingxue's instructions, preventing Su Dingheng from breaking out of the residence. During Su Dingheng's disturbance in the manor, Su Yingxue whispered something into Xilan's ear. Though Yihan was puzzled, she obediently followed Su Yingxue's instructions. Su Dingheng managed to break out of the manor, but he had no idea where to find Su Yuru's corpse. He just wanted to escalate the situation, believing that Su Yingxue wouldn't be able to handle it and that she would eventually give Su Yurou a proper burial. His first destination was the palace, but Chu Mingyuan refused to see him. Su Yingxue made Chu Mingyuan gnash his teeth in hatred. He couldn't do anything to Su Yingxue now, so he wouldn't meet that trash Su Dingheng. Su Dingheng was rebuffed and went to the capital prefecture to accuse Su Yingxue of abusing her sister and not allowing Su Yuru's body to be collected. Liang Jin had also heard about this matter, but when entertaining Su Dingheng, he said, "I heard that second young miss framed eldest young miss, and she died in the palace. That's why eldest young miss is in this state. Although it's not in line with etiquette, it's not a problem in terms of the law." The meaning behind his words was that he was unwilling to interfere with the pile of rotten matters in Su Dingheng's residence. Anyone who went would be in trouble. Moreover, if the law brought this matter to him, Liang Jin would sentence Su Yurou heavily. She deserved her fate. Su Dingheng had no one to turn to, so he could only go from house to house and look for Su family's relatives, his brother, third brother, and younger sister. But which family of theirs did not have discerning eyes? Previously, Su Yingxue had even generously gifted clothes and jewelry to her cousins. She was generous and considerate of her family. She was unlike Su Dingheng, who became arrogant ever since inheriting the title of nobility. He even made them split up and set up their own families. It would be strange if they offended Su Yingxue for Su Dingheng. Chapter 498. Not even the remains of the corpse were left, especially at his brother Su Fukang's house. Madame Su, Qin Wan, sneered at Su Dingheng. Letting go of such a good legitimate daughter and cherishing an unnamed concubine's daughter, causing a scene without dignity. This second uncle is truly outrageous. Su Fukang twirled his beard, wearing a scornful expression. Our Su family is known for loyalty. If it weren't for second sister-in-law, how could he have inherited the title? He's been enjoying life, even emptying his mind. Qin Wan couldn't be bothered to scold Su Dingheng, but she worried about another matter. With second uncle being so foolish, there might be troubles in the Marquis Manor. At this moment, it's not suitable for us to trouble Yingxue. Su Fukang, upon considering this, frowned. Forget it. Spend some more silver, hire a better doctor, and send it to the prince's mansion in Yangon County. Qin Wan wiped away tears. That's the only option. My daughter has suffered. Su Dingheng made a fuss outside for nothing, achieving nothing and receiving disdainful looks. Upon returning to the residence, he only wanted to vent his anger on Su Yingxue. Upon hearing that Su Yingxue was in the ancestral hall, he rushed there in anger. Su Yingxue, you've planned everything well. Not a single person is willing to help me bury Ruer. Su Yingxue was offering incense with a pious attitude, completely ignoring Su Dingheng's shouting behind her. After finishing kowtowing, she stood up. A mocking smile appeared on her solemn face. Father, your commotion is perfect, giving me a reason to expose Su Yuru's corpse in the wilderness. What? What did you say? Su Dingheng was shocked and puzzled. His mind didn't react quickly to Su Yingxue's scheme. Su Yingxue patiently explained, initially, I only left Su Yurou in the alley without touching her. However, father, you were so anxious, wanting everyone to know I was abusing her. One pretended to stop you from leaving the residence, making you emotional before letting you go. If you go to the palace to cause a ruckus, the truth will naturally leak out. If you go to the capital prefecture, the justice of the law will prove I'm not wrong. As for going to the homes of your uncles and aunts to cause a ruckus, even they won't help you. How do you think the entire Jiangdu city will view you? Su Yingxue walked in front of Su Dingheng. Although not as tall, she used her immense aura to suppress him. They will only think you deserve to be abandoned by your family, she said word by word. If Su Dingheng didn't make a fuss, exposing Su Yuru's corpse in the wilderness would only lead to curses. However, Su Dingheng caused a ruckus. Not only that, he caused a huge ruckus. As she wished, Su Dingheng gained infamy. How could Su Yurou fare any better? Naturally, she was marked with disgrace. In this era, there was no tolerance for women. Su Yurou, a nameless and statusless illegitimate daughter, even though wrongfully killed, was only deemed worthy of being gossiped about briefly before being buried in the yellow soil. Moreover, she was not wronged at all. She had done all kinds of bad things, and everyone despised her. By exposing Su Yuru's corpse in the wilderness, she fulfilled everyone's wishes. Xilan, you can dispose of Su Yuru's corpse. Su Yingxue said in a good mood. Xilan was outside and replied clearly, yes, Mississippi. I threw it on an unknown wild mountain outside the city. One think it won't be long before it's eaten by wild beasts. No. No. My Ruer, Su Dingheng's heart ached as he chased after her, but he couldn't even cross the threshold and fell face first onto the ground. Chapter 499 I can only look for you, Auntie, Su Yingxue. How could you be so heartless? How could you be so heartless to your sister? Su Dingheng lay on the ground, crying and wailing. I've told you, I, Su Yingxue, only have a biological brother. I don't have a younger sister. Su Yingxue sneered. She had believed such things in the past, but from now on, she would never again be deceived by slander or harmed by anyone. You are all my blood. All my children. Why are you so heartless? Su Dingheng sat on the ground, each word bringing forth tears, accusing and condemning. The scene struck Su Yingxue as somewhat ironic. She walked toward Su Dingheng, looking down at him from a higher position. Although she was just a 16 or 17-year-old girl, her eyes seemed to have witnessed the most profound experiences. Her icy voice, with a chilling coldness, spoke, "What if I told you that I've already died once, father?" Dead. Died once. Su Dingheng was stunned for a long time. He didn't understand and dared not believe it. What does it mean to have died once? What are you talking about, Su Yingxue? You, Su Dingheng couldn't ask these questions anymore. He didn't understand, and he could only bury this curiosity in the Marquis Manor, in his courtyard. Outside Jiangdu City, on a desolate mountain. A female corpse lay in pieces, torn apart by wild beasts. When Su Jinxian arrived, he shooed away the vultures that were pecking at the last piece of meat. He could only salvage the 2 remaining bones of Su Yurou. Su Jinxian brought the bones to a place and buried them secretly. He looked at the 2 tombstones in front of him. One was his mother, and the other was his sister. His eyes were filled with a bloodthirsty light. Su Yingxue, I will make you pay with blood. The diplomatic meeting of the 4 nations concluded, and the envoys began leaving Jiangdu City one by one. Since Su Yingxue had taken on the role of a female envoy, she saw it through to the end and bid farewell to the envoys. The departure of other envoys was uneventful, but Han Yuan, who had undergone surgery under her hands, and a maid who died at the hands of Lin Sisi, left with a look of intense resentment. It was as if they wanted to devour Su Yingxue alive. Seated in a luxurious carriage with a somber expression, Han Yuan spoke, Su Yingxue, we will meet again. The next time will be your reckoning. Princess, remember to live for a couple more years. Otherwise, in the future, one won't find anyone as merciful as you, willing to let me practice surgery on them. Su Yingxue smiled politely. Chu Jinling followed behind Su Yingxue, laughing mischievously. Auntie, you better make her so mad that her wound splits open. What if she turns back halfway and demands you take responsibility? Su Yingxue raised her lips. Then I'll give her another surgery. She enjoyed practicing surgery on Han Yuan. Chu Jinling had followed her for a few days, being considerate and presenting gifts. It made Su Yingxue suspicious of his intentions. 9th Prince, be honest. Why not go to your imperial uncle for help? Why come to me? Chu Jinling's fair face blushed. Going to imperial uncle won't help in this matter. One can only come to you, Auntie. Initially, Su Yingxue found it awkward when Chu Jinling called her aunt, as he was a year or 2 older than her. Yet, he insisted on this address, and over time, she got used to it. She clapped her hands. Then, please tell me what you need my help with. Of course, is. Cece. Chu Jinling revealed a face full of longing. I can't resist when my mother is being ruthless. She won't allow me to see Cece. Chapter 500, Su Yingxue's experience in surgery. She kept me locked up for a long time. Now that I'm out, there are quite a few people following me. One can't even catch a glimpse of Cece's clothes. Auntie, do you know how Cece is now? How is her face? Is she doing well? This, Su Yingxue indeed knew. Chu Jinling couldn't see Lin Cece, but she could. Ever since she discovered her martial arts were inadequate to overcome Lan Ling, she committed herself to training and self-defense. She frequently engaged in sparring sessions with Lin Cece. Lin Cece, raised under Lin Aotian's guidance, had deep internal strength and formidable martial arts skills. Being a woman made it convenient for her to teach Su Yingxue martial arts. Their daily interactions made Su Yingxue feel that Lin Cece's condition was much better than Chu Jinling's. Don't worry, Cece is doing well. She eats well, sleeps well, and is in good health. Everything is fine. Su Yingxue thought saying this would put Chu Jinling at ease. Chu Jinling eagerly looked at her. Did she miss me? Is there any message she asked you to convey to me? His eyes, full of anticipation, sparkled with starlight. Each glance conveyed his longing for Lin Cece. Su Yingxue truly couldn't bear to hurt him, so she had to make an excuse to escape. Hey, Auntie, where are you going? You haven't answered my question. Chu Jinling pursued her persistently. The reason Su Yingxue was reluctant to tell Chu Jinling was that Lin Cece had told her, Dr. Su, if it's unattainable, then let it go. Su Yingxue finally finished her busy tasks and enjoyed 5 days of leisure at home. During these 5 days, Saint Juan brought many cases for her to treat, working together. She was gaining more experience in surgical procedures. Every time Saint Juan assisted her, his eyes lit up. You're quite something, young girl. Why are you so skilled? Su Yingxue awkwardly smiled. Well, you're not bad as well. Being able to assist her so skillfully, coupled with Saint Juan's decades of medical expertise, he was far more experienced than her. She had suggested once or twice, if you're interested, practice more, and I can teach you surgical procedures. Saint Juan shook his head, saying, I'm not interested in such bloody matters now. Moreover, when it comes to wielding the scalpel, it's unstable. Compared to you, I'm far behind. You handle the incision and suturing, and I'll assist. This arrangement solidified Saint Juan's position as her assistant. On this day, just after finishing surgery with Saint Juan, Yihan informed her, Miss, your aunt is here. Auntie. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. This was indeed an unusual guest. She quickly changed into a cherry blossom red dress to welcome her. In the main hall, Qin Wan appeared dignified and elegant, her swan-like graceful neck reflecting her noble posture. Su Yingxue knew that her cousin, Su Han, had inherited the refined demeanor of her aunt. She served tea to Qin Wan. Qin Wan also had a gentle smile on her face. Yingxue, one know you've been busy these days, so one didn't come to disturb you. One haven't heard much from you these few days, so I thought of coming to see you. Just like Su Han, she spoke in a comforting tone. It was an art to converse with them. However, when Su Yingxue saw that the gifts Qin Wan brought were all very expensive, she became cautious. And, if you're just here to see me, you don't have to be so polite. Is there anything specific where one can be of assistance? Wanna gift the story? Try 1. Comment 0 Comment Vote 3 Left Send GFT Chapter 501, Regional Prince's Mansion's Peril. She spoke directly, and Qin Wan knew that her mind was as clear as a mirror, which pleased her. Putting down the teacup, Qin Wan earnestly spoke to Su Yingxue. If it weren't for Heiner's current perilous situation, one wouldn't have wanted to bother you. Yingxue, I implore you, can you save your cousin? Qin Wan, born into a prestigious family and married to Su Yingxue's uncle, General Weiwu, Su Han, was married into the regional prince's mansion. It was not an exaggeration to say she belonged to a noble family. However, now she set aside her status as an elder to make such a plea. Su Yingxue furrowed her brows. What has happened to cousin? Your cousin is currently imprisoned in the prince's mansion of Yangon County. Your uncle and one can't see her at all, and am uncertain about her current situation. Tears welled up in Qin Wan's eyes. What illness does cousin have? What's the situation in the prince's mansion of Yangon County? Please, aunt, tell me everything step by step. Su Yingxue recalled Su Han's kindness in her previous life. Before she passed away, Su Han was the only one who came to the Marquis Manor to find her. In this life, even though she had made a deal with Su Han was still an honest sister. Asking these questions probably meant she wanted to lend a hand in saving Su Han. However, she needed to understand the situation first. Qin Wan recounted everything to Su Yingxue. A few days ago, Heiner began feeling unwell in her stomach. She consulted a doctor who declared she was pregnant. We were all overjoyed about the child, but soon, Heiner became bedridden. Your uncle and one sought numerous renowned doctors to visit the prince's mansion of Yangon County, but none were allowed to examine her. The doctor sent in 2 days ago was a servant of your uncle. He managed to bring back a note from Heiner. It turns out that Hainer, as Qin Wan spoke, tears flowed uncontrollably. Her choked voice weighed heavily on Su Yingxue's heart. Has cousin been mistreated in the regional prince's mansion? It's not just mistreatment. Miss has been imprisoned by the prince's mansions. Chapter 501, Regional Prince's Mansion's Peril. She spoke directly, and Qin Wan knew that her mind was as clear as a mirror, which pleased her. Putting down the teacup, Qin Wan earnestly spoke to Su Yingxue. If it weren't for Hainer's current perilous situation, one wouldn't have wanted to bother you. Yingxue, one implore you, can you save your cousin? Qin Wan, born into a prestigious family and married to Su Yingxue's uncle, General Weiwu, Su Han, was married into the regional prince's mansion. It was not an exaggeration to say she belonged to a noble family. However, now she set aside her status as an elder to make such a plea. Su Yingxue furrowed her brows. What has happened to cousin? Your cousin is currently imprisoned in the prince's mansion of Yangon County. Your uncle and one can't see her at all, and am uncertain about her current situation. Tears welled up in Qin Wan's eyes. What illness does cousin have? What's the situation in the prince's mansion of Yangon County? Please, aunt, tell me everything step by step. Su Yingxue recalled Su Han's kindness in her previous life. Before she passed away, Su Han was the only one who came to the Marquis Manor to find her. In this life, even though she had made a deal with Su Han was still an honest sister. Asking these questions probably meant she wanted to lend a hand in saving Su Han. However, she needed to understand the situation first. Qin Wan recounted everything to Su Yingxue. A few days ago, Hainer began feeling unwell in her stomach. She consulted a doctor who declared she was pregnant. We were all overjoyed about the child, but soon, Hainer became bedridden. Your uncle and I sought numerous renowned doctors to visit the prince's mansion of Yangon County, but none were allowed to examine her. The doctor sent in 2 days ago was a servant of your uncle. He managed to bring back a note from Hainer. It turns out that Hainer, as Qin Wan spoke, tears flowed uncontrollably. Her choked voice weighed heavily on Su Yingxue's heart. Has cousin been mistreated in the regional prince's mansion? It's not just mistreatment. Miss has been imprisoned by the prince's mansion's people. They said. Qin Wan's maidservant looked indignant but dared not continue. This made Su Yingxue even more anxious. Su Yingxue furrowed her brows. If aunt has reservations, one won't press further today. However, if you wish to save cousin and restore her innocence, please tell me the truth. This matter is truly difficult to talk about. Family matters shouldn't be aired in public, but Hainer's life is more important. Qin Wan seemed to have steeled herself before continuing. The people from the prince's mansion said that Hainer isn't pregnant. She's carrying a ghost fetus. Because Hainer's belly has expanded in just a few days. A hint of surprise flashed across Su Yingxue's eyes. Her stomach expanded in just a few days. Cousin should be around 2 months pregnant. That's correct. That's why Hainer has been mistreated by them. The county lord in the regional prince's mansion is also domineering and ruthless. She has always had a strained relationship with Hainer. Now she has ordered Hainer to be locked up, and I'm afraid Hainer has suffered greatly inside. Qin Wan covered her face with a handkerchief. This was her greatest sorrow as a mother. Her precious daughter was seriously ill and imprisoned in her husband's house, and she and her husband could do nothing about it. They had done everything within their power. Now, only Su Yingxue could help them. Yingxue, you're a genius doctor. You can surely diagnose Hainer's illness. She isn't pregnant with a ghost fetus. It's all baseless rumors. Moreover, considering your status, the prince's mansion of Yangon County will surely give you some respect. Qin Wan sounded a little embarrassed, but Su Yingxue understood what she meant. Chapter 502. Save Su Han. She could go to treat Su Han, but she needed someone who could smoothly bring her inside the prince's mansion in Yangon County. This person naturally belonged to Yihan. Princes, regional princes, all belonged to the royal family, but in terms of identity and status, no regional prince could compare to Yihan. He was the most prestigious prince in the Great Qing dynasty. The regional prince's mansion might not give a face to the emperor, but it couldn't afford to offend Yihan. If Su Yingxue brought him along, how many regional princes' mansions would she be barred from entering? Su Yingxue agreed to Qin Wan's request, and, rest assured, I will see my cousin. Yingxue, and thanks you in advance. Qin Wan's eyes shimmered with excited tears, not knowing how to express her gratitude to Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue was not someone who beat around the bush. Since we're family, Aunt, there's no need for formalities. When my father caused a commotion at Uncle's mansion, it caused you quite a bit of trouble. Aunt was understanding and didn't pay attention to it, which also saved face for me. Now that cousin is in trouble, I will naturally contribute my efforts to save her. Su Yingxue's poise and grace made Qin Wan admire her. When they went separate ways, Qin Wan and her husband left the Marquis manor. Su Yingxue was still young and had a somewhat mischievous personality. She didn't particularly like Su Yingxue. However, in the following years, as Su Yingxue grew up, she gradually transformed into a different person, surpassing everyone's expectations. Qin Wan left with peace of mind. Su Yingxue had all the gifts Qin Wan brought sent back. She didn't need to be so polite to save Su Han. However, Su Yingxue didn't know much about Su Han's situation. While there was no such thing as a ghost fetus in this world, Su Han's situation, becoming pregnant in just a few days, was peculiar. She sent a message through Yilan to Saint Wan, asking if he wanted to go together to the prince's mansion in Yangon County. Saint Wan got excited upon hearing about the illness. I've never seen a ghost fetus. Let's go, we're going now. Su Yingxue shook her head. Entering the regional prince's mansion is not that easy. We need to find your highness first. In the 9th prince's mansion, the moment Su Yingxue appeared, she received a warm welcome from everyone in the mansion. The old steward always greeted her with a joyful smile. Miss Su, tea and new snacks have been prepared in the upper hall. Please, take a seat. Uncle Steward, you don't have to be so polite. It makes it seem like every time I come, it's especially troublesome, Su Yingxue said, feeling a bit embarrassed. Her treatment in the prince's mansion was even better than in the Marquis manor. Saint Wan teased her, are they mobilizing so many people? They are welcoming the princess. Su Yingxue blushed and turned around, glaring at Saint Wan. The old steward smiled kindly. That's true. Su Yingxue felt even more embarrassed. She braced herself and walked towards the hall. As she passed by the garden, she heard a long roar. Oh my God! What kind of hobby does Yihan have? Other people have pets, but he has tiger. Saint Wan jumped, looking at the majestic Shanbao on the Tiger Mountain in surprise. Su Yingxue also looked over. She realized that there were a few days when the Shanbao seemed to have lost a little weight. It barked at her a few times. Could it be that it hated her and wanted her to leave quickly? Su Yingxue trembled. The fear of almost dying in the tiger's mouth made her quicken her pace to leave the garden. Shanbao roared. Because it had scared Su Yingxue away the last time, it had not had a full meal for a long time. It was already so pitiful, so why would Su Yingxue run away? Chapter 503. Show love. When Su Yingxue rushed into the upper hall, she collided with Yihan. Yihan promptly carried her into the hall, and as Su Yingxue looked up from his embrace, she couldn't help but admire his smooth skin and perfect jawline, succumbing once again to infatuation. Hey, men and women shouldn't be so intimate, especially in broad daylight. Can you be more discreet? Saint Juan strolled in, feeling his teenage heart wounded. Su Yingxue ignored him. Yihan snorted. If you don't want to see it, just leave. No one bothered to keep him around. Saint Juan widened his eyes. Yihan, you're too heartless. After knowing each other for years, it felt like a swift dismissal. Mo Cheek shook his head and reminded Saint Juan, around your highness, you need to be more self-aware. Learn from him. When he was a third wheel, he had to take the initiative to disappear. When his master was showing off his affection, he had to eat something that could help him digest his food. Only then could he stay by Yihan's side for a long time. Saint Juan retorted, I'm not here for a meal. Su Yingxue, have you forgotten the main reason we're here? In front of everyone, Su Yingxue snapped back to reality. No, I haven't forgotten. She leaned into Yihan's arms and blinked her watery eyes. Your Highness, are you free today? Can you accompany me to the Prince's Mansion of Yangon County? The Prince's Mansion of Yangon County. Yihan pondered for a moment. You've had no dealings with the regional Prince's Mansion. Is it because something happened to your cousin there? Su Yingxue's eyes lit up. Your Highness knows about my cousin. Why does he know so much? Did he notice Su Han because of her beauty? As a woman's sensitive nature emerged, she couldn't hold back anymore. Over the past 2 days, the shadow guards have been reporting, Yihan replied casually. Your Highness, isn't my cousin very beautiful? Su Yingxue suddenly felt her heart sink. Yihan pursed his lips. One don't have any impression. Other than Su Yingxue, all wealthy daughters looked the same in his eyes. They were not distinctive. He had never paid attention to Su Yingxue's cousin. He only knew her surname was Su. Observing this, Mo Chi quickly added, Miss Su, your Highness pays attention to the Su family to protect you. Therefore, the shadow guards report the situation of everyone in the Su family to your Highness. Your Highness is not familiar with your sisters. Not familiar was an understatement. They probably knew Su Yingxue had sisters with the surname Su, and that was about it. Su Yingxue was surprised. Your Highness is so meticulous for me. Mo Chi nodded in agreement. Your Highness' attentiveness to Miss Su goes beyond this. TSK, maybe he has ulterior motives. Saint Juan couldn't stand seeing Yihan and Su Yingxue being so sweet. It looked envious. Ugh, you're the one with ulterior motives. Do you think all men in the world are like you, a scumbag? Su Yingxue scolded Saint Juan. Let him talk about her imperial uncle. Yihan wasn't like that. Let's go. 111 take you to the regional prince's mansion. Yihan held Su Yingxue's hand, and they left. Su Yingxue walked past Saint Juan with a snort, warning him. Don't speak ill of my imperial uncle again. Ugh. Saint Juan rolled his eyes at her. A love-struck girl. Yihan didn't defend himself at all, but seeing Su Yingxue defending him made him curl his lips in delight. Su Yingxue had thought that the regional prince's mansion would be close to her but not to Yihan. However, she did not expect that they would be given the cold shoulder when they arrived at the entrance of the mansion. Chapter 504, How dare you shut Yihan out? Mo Chi's expression darkened, this is unreasonable. In the Great Qing dynasty, no one dares to reject your highness outside the door. Has the regional prince's mansion so bold? Saint Juan cursed along, what nonsense regional prince's mansion. If I can't see the patient today, I'll use poison to rot his door. Su Yingxue, rubbing her chin, felt a bit puzzled. Only Yihan remained calm. He instructed Mo-chi. Inform the old Your Highness that I am here to visit him. Then, inform the 5 cities military department. Mo-chi immediately left. Su Yingxue immediately understood. The reason why the regional prince's mansion closed its doors to you is most likely because the old Your Highness is not in the residence. As for the 5 cities military department, it seems that the current prince of Yangon County is working there. Yihan scratched her nose. You have a good memory. Su Yingxue smiled. After experiencing 2 lifetimes, her memory was naturally better. However, in her previous life, Su Han didn't interact much with her after she got married. Although she didn't lead a very happy life, she also didn't experience the misfortune of conceiving a ghost fetus. In less than half an hour, the old regional prince rode a carriage and rushed over from his residence outside the city. After he got out of the carriage, he greeted Yihan. Your Highness, it's your honor to come. I've neglected you. Please forgive me, Your Highness. There's no need to be so polite, Yihan said lightly. He didn't say much, but the old regional prince could tell that Yihan wasn't very happy. Regardless of why Yihan suddenly wanted to visit his cousin, the old regional prince's heart was already trembling from the fact that he had been standing at the entrance of the regional prince's mansion for so long and the door had yet to open. Are you all a bunch of trash? He roared. Don't you see Your Highness standing at the door? Open the door and let him in. Are you looking for death? The old regional prince's voice was like a great bell. When the manservant heard his voice, he did not dare to be negligent and immediately opened the door. The steward came out to welcome him and hurriedly went to support the old regional prince. Master, you're back. Bastard. What master? All of you pay your respects to Your Highness. How dare you lock Your Highness outside the door? See how one won't spare your heads. The old regional prince was furious and agitated. He even coughed heavily a few times. The butler quickly led everyone to kowtow to Yihan. Welcome, 9th prince. I was negligent, I deserve to die, please forgive me, 9th prince. This group of people kowtowed like pounding garlic. Su Yingxue felt relieved just by looking at them. The steward complained in his heart. The one who didn't allow the door to open was the master, and the one who opened the door was still the master. It was not easy for servants like them to live. Your Highness, the door is wide open. Please don't mind, come in and have a seat. The old regional prince respectfully invited Yihan over. He stood beside Yihan and was still trembling. Although Yihan was much younger than him and was also his cousin, there was no one who could match him in terms of power and honor in the great Qing dynasty. He didn't even dare to address him as his imperial brother. He had to address him as Your Highness. Su Yingxue wanted to see Su Han as soon as possible, so she rushed in. However, Yihan said, I wonder who is unhappy with me in my imperial brother's residence. Before we go in, it's better to be clear. The old regional prince's heart tightened. What should have happened had come. Yihan's debt would not be forgotten. Chapter 505, The outcome was a fight. He put on a thick face and whispered, This. There are a few insensible people in the residence. One will punish them. Your Highness, go in. Don't get tired standing. He was afraid that if Yihan stood there for another 15 minutes, the plaque of the regional prince's mansion would fall off. Yihan didn't move, but the cold air around him was getting stronger and stronger. The old regional prince's back was covered in cold sweat. He knew that it was impossible for the matter not to be resolved. He could only order in a low voice, Go and invite the princess consort out. Find out which servant in the manor is so insensible that he dares to refuse Your Highness entry. The steward's expression was troubled. He leaned into the old regional prince's ear and said something. The old regional prince's expression changed drastically. Is the princess consort sick? When did it happen? Why didn't you tell me? If the princess consort was sick, then what about the madam? Doesn't she care? The steward did not dare to say that it was the old madam's idea to not let Yihan in. When she heard that Su Yingxue from the Su family had come and wanted to lock her out, she locked the door together with Yihan. The old regional prince felt a mouthful of blood stuck in his throat. He wished he could scold these people in the residence for being so careless. He quickly asked someone to invite his wife over. When Madame Xing arrived, she still looked lazy. She adjusted the precious jade hairpin on her hair bun. Master, it's fine if you're back. There's no need to make such a big fuss. Our minor is painting, be careful not to disturb her. What are you arguing about? Do you want to die? How dare you let the 9th prince stand outside the manor? Hurry up and apologize to the 9th prince. The old regional prince stomped his feet anxiously. Although he was no longer an official, his sons were still around. If they offended Yihan, his sons' futures would be ruined. All of them should prepare to go to the countryside to farm. Although Madame Xing was no longer a princess, she still had her family backing her. She was a second-rank imperial edict, so she was arrogant wherever she went. She also despised Su Han's family background, so she tortured her a lot. She was arrogant and despotic and was rarely yelled at by the old regional prince. Now that she was embarrassed, she refused to apologize and even glared at Su Yingxue. If it wasn't for this stupid girl, would the 9th prince have come to visit our regional prince's mansion? She didn't dare to face Yihan directly, but she was very clear about their relationship. At the same time, she was also being careful. What could a junior like Su Yingxue do to her? Su Yingxue's face puffed up in anger. It's fine if Madam says something bad to me, but from what one see, you don't welcome 9th prince. How dare you insult Yihan? Beat you up. No, no. Your Highness' presence brings light to the residence, how could I not welcome your Highness? Your Highness, please, please come in. The old regional prince had always wanted to treat Yihan well. Yihan glanced at Su Yingxue, who was standing in front of him and protecting him. He felt a trace of relief in his heart. When he looked up again, his eyes were filled with a cold killing intent. Mo-chi, punish the person who neglected me. Mo-chi cupped his hands. Yes. Your Highness. He turned around and looked at the old regional prince. Old regional prince, when the emperor was out with your Highness, someone had neglected your Highness. The emperor rewarded that person with 30 strokes of the stick. The old regional prince trembled. He had heard of that matter. The other party was considered an outstanding civil servant back then, but because he had neglected Yihan, he had been beaten 30 times. Now, he was going to beat his foolish wife. The old regional prince trembled. Only then did Madame Xing react. Her eyes widened. What? Do you dare to hit me? 30 strokes of the stick. You guys are dreaming. Su Yingxue, you little bitch, what did you do to 9th prince? It's all your fault. Chapter 506, It's good that someone loves you. Yihan's cold gaze fell on Madame Xing. It was as if he was giving her a sentence. You slandered me, he said coldly. You will be stripped of your imperial mandate. 50 strokes of the stick. Yes, your Highness. I will immediately pass the message to the palace. Mo-chi immediately waved his hand, and a shadow guard headed towards the imperial palace. The old regional prince's heart trembled. He knelt in front of Yihan. Your Highness, please spare me. My wife is stupid and has disturbed your Highness. 1. I will punish her now. He knew very well that if he made Yihan unhappy, it wouldn't be as simple as canceling his imperial mandate. He immediately ordered a stool and a board to be carried over. He pointed at Madame Xing and said, "Men, beat this rude woman with 50 sticks." "Are you crazy, you old thing?" Madame Xing was furious. "How dare you hit me? Hit her." The old regional prince was so angry that he was trembling. He hurriedly ordered his men to take action. Before Madame Xing could react, she was already pressed against the stool. She had been pampered for many years and had never been hit before. She screamed. Although her voice was not pleasant to hear, Yingxue felt that it was fine for her to shout louder. She turned around and winked at Yihan. "Your Highness, can I go see my cousin now?" Yihan nodded. Seeing that Yingxue was about to walk into the residence, the old regional prince hurriedly led the way in front of her. "Please, Your Highness. Miss Su, please." With Yihan by his side, he, the old regional prince, was polite to Yingxue. Saint Juan also followed behind them. He and Mo Qi were behind them. He couldn't help but sigh. In this world, it's indeed good to have power and influence. No matter where Yihan went, he was always so awesome. Mo Qi shook his head. "Wrong, it's good to have someone to dote on." No matter how powerful Yihan was, he couldn't resist a single word from Yingxue. Even if Yingxue wanted the stars in the sky, Yihan would pluck them for her. He loved Yingxue so much. Yingxue and Yihan were invited to the main hall by the old regional prince. The old regional prince brought out all the expensive and good things in his house to entertain Yihan, but Yihan did not even look at them. He only greeted him. "Imperial brother is having a good time outside. I wonder how the situation in the residence is." Before the old regional prince entered, he didn't know. After all, his eldest son, Xiaotian, was more promising. He let Xiaotian inherit the title of nobility early on. He got married and married a capable daughter-in-law. Then, he gave up and lived a carefree life. His eldest daughter-in-law was in charge of everything in the family. This daughter-in-law was Yingxue's cousin, Han. When the steward reported that Han was sick, the old regional prince guessed that Yingxue's visit today was not simple. "My eldest daughter-in-law is dignified and elegant. She is very good at managing the house, so one have never worried about my family. Did Your Highness bring Miss Su to visit my eldest daughter-in-law today?" "That's right." Yingxue had a medicine box beside her. "Old regional prince, can you let me see my cousin and treat her illness?" Miss Su is a female doctor and the cousin of the eldest daughter-in-law. This is naturally possible. The old regional prince had no reason to stop her, so he called the steward and prepared to let him bring Yingxue over. Saint Juan also got up and followed Yingxue over. He was still muttering beside Yingxue. If one had known this would happen, one would have called this old regional prince back earlier. Look at how reasonable he is. Even if Yihan doesn't come, he won't stop us from seeing your cousin, right? Chapter 507, The arrogant Minjia County Lord Yingxue curled her lips. The old regional prince is reasonable, but there are many people in this manner who don't understand. Look at his Madame Xing. Is she reasonable? Saint Juan looked disgusted. That's a fool. What could she be thinking to go against Yihan? Yingxue guessed that there must be some unreasonable people in this residence. As soon as she and Saint Juan arrived at the gate of Han's courtyard, a woman in bright and luxurious clothes sat there with a cold face. She was sitting on an expensive carved armchair. There were two maidservants beside her who were holding tea and snacks. There was a long line behind her, some were shielding her from the sun, and some were fanning her. There was even a fat cat lying at her feet, and it looked at Su Yingxue. "Tsk, fierce. Which idiot is this?" Saint Juan was annoyed. This was what he hated the most about the Duke's manner. He didn't know how many twists and turns he had to go through to see a patient, and it affected his performance. Su Yingxue looked at this graceful and gorgeous girl. Her round face was extremely tender, and her skin was so smooth that it seemed like water could be squeezed out. She guessed that she was probably the one who made things difficult for Su Han the most, the Minjia County Lord. She reached out to block the sunlight and smiled. One heard Madame Xing say that the county lord was painting at the door. "I didn't expect to meet you here." One didn't know that the county lord was so good at multitasking. There was a hint of sarcasm in her smile. No one was stupid. The painting of Minjia County Lord was nonsense. She was making things difficult for Su Han and standing in front of her courtyard. The Minjia County Lord had been used to being arrogant since she was young because of her family background and her parents' love for her. Facing Su Yingxue's mockery, she replied arrogantly. "Su Yingxue, stop beating around the bush. You want to visit your cousin, right? I won't let you. Now, get lost." Wow! How arrogant! Saint Juan rolled up his sleeves. Normally, he would beat up such arrogant people, regardless of their gender. Wait a moment. Su Yingxue pressed down on Saint Juan's fist and advised her kindly. One got the old regional prince's permission to visit and treat someone. Furthermore, the person inside is my cousin. There's nothing wrong with it. County Lord, you should move aside now. Why? Minjia County Lord lifted her teacup and stood up. She immediately cursed. "Su Yingxue, who do you think you are? This is my regional prince's mansion. You can see whoever you want and treat whoever you want. Dream on. If one, Minjia, am here today, you can forget about seeing Su Han." She was so angry and so hostile that Su Yingxue frowned and fell into deep thought. She remembered that the Minjia County Lord had a bad temper, but they did not interact much. If there was no reason, she would not be so hostile towards her. "What are you waiting for? Slap her twice and go in to see your cousin." Saint Juan couldn't hold back the poison in his sleeve anymore. He wanted to slap this county lord in the face. Let her know what society is like. Saint Juan thought. "County lead, if you don't move, you will end up like Madame Xing." Su Yingxue said in a deep voice. "My mother. What did you do to my mother?" Minjia County Lord finally reacted. Her mother had gone to stop Su Yingxue, but Su Yingxue had entered the residence. "What about her mother?" "County Lord, Madam is being beaten up." The steward sighed heavily. "What is it?" "My mother is being beaten." "Who dared to hit her?" The Minjia County Lord was so angry that she smashed everything in her hand. Her face was ashen. Chapter 508. Beat her up like a pig. The steward had no choice but to speak the truth. Madam neglected Ninth Prince, and he hesitated to say more about Ninth Prince and Miss Su but ended up revealing, Master punished her with dozens of lashes. Now, it's execution. What? Mother. The Minjia County Lord was about to rush to see Madame Xing. However, after just taking 2 steps, she noticed that Su Yingxue was still standing there, and a surge of anger filled her heart. She pointed at Su Yingxue, gritting her teeth angrily. "You little wretch. You intruded into my residence and caused my mother to be beaten." Today, the county lord was determined to teach her a lesson. Taking advantage of the crowd around her, she waved her hand, instructing them to charge at Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue placed the medicine box behind her and poked Saint Juan. Roll up your other sleeve too. Preparing for a fight. Saint Juan, looking at the approaching servants with excitement in his eyes, rolled up his other sleeve. Crack. Whoosh. Bang bang. Paw. After a series of loud noises, all the servants in the regional prince's mansion lay defeated at Su Yingxue and Saint Juan's feet. Su Yingxue hadn't made a move yet. After Saint Juan had finished, she approached the Minjia County Lord. County Lord, are your servants so easily defeated? The Minjia County Lords could not control her anger any longer. Su Yingxue, how dare you? I'll beat you to death. Thinking that Su Yingxue was just another sheltered young lady like her, she clenched her fist and swung it at her. Su Yingxue had been waiting for this punch. Hit her. Of course not. Su Yingxue grabbed her arm, twisted it, and then delivered 2 punches to her eye sockets, creating a symmetrical panda effect. Afterward, she held the county lord's hand and made her slap her face. Using the Minjia County Lord's hand, Su Yingxue slapped the county lord's face until it swelled. Then, she let her go, dusted off her hands, and looked at the stunned steward. You witnessed it. Your county lord initiated the attack. We acted in self-defense. The steward was left speechless. Could he claim to be blind? This situation was infuriating. Saint Juan, helping Su Yingxue carry the medicine box into the courtyard, walked with a joyful gait. Su Yingxue, you're truly cunning. After hitting them, you even want the steward to testify that they attacked first. Su Yingxue innocently tried to reason with him. That is indeed the truth. Did either of us initiate the attack? She was the first to strike when I hit the Minjia County Lord. I can't just stand there like a fool and let her hit me, right? Of course not. That's why you mentioned Madame Sheng. You wanted her to know that her mother was beaten, to provoke her and make her hit you. This way, you'd have a reason to openly strike her. Saint Juan hummed a tune. He had seen through Su Yingxue's cunning nature. This girl, it was fine if you didn't provoke her, but once you did, she would be cunning and ruthless. After the scheming, she would openly beat you up, leaving you with no reason to retaliate. Therefore, he would rather offend all the women in the world than offend Su Yingxue. This girl was too crafty. Su Yingxue didn't argue against Saint Juan's statements. Instead, she was more concerned about Su Han. As they walked into the courtyard, Su Han, despite being bedridden, had not a single servant attending to her. Su Yingxue's heart sank a little. She didn't know which room was Su Han's bedroom, but after checking other rooms, she noticed one with a door locked from the outside. She knocked on the door, inquiring, "Sister, are you in there?" Chapter 509, Su Han's Weird Big Belly, Yingxue. Sister. A woman's feeble voice emanated from behind the door. Su Han had already given in to despair, but she didn't anticipate hearing Su Yingxue's voice. Sister, wait a moment. Su Yingxue inserted a silver needle into the keyhole, breaking the lock, and swiftly entered. Saint Juan held the broken lock, still in a daze. Su Yingxue, how did you do that? She was a doctor. How could she use silver needles to pick a lock? Su Yingxue had no time to pay attention to him. She rushed into Su Han's room, which reeked of a foul odor. It seemed like it hadn't been cleaned for days, and the decaying food emitted a putrid smell in the air. Su Yingxue assisted Su Han and moved her to a cleaner room, with Saint Juan carrying her medicine box. Saint Juan's gaze was fixed on Su Han's stomach. Tears welled up in Su Han's eyes, and she subconsciously covered her abnormally large belly with the blanket. Sister, Aunt asked me to come and see you. It wasn't easy for me to get in. Let me take a look at your stomach and feel your pulse. Su Yingxue explained her intentions. Su Han had been confined for several days, so she could deduce that it wasn't easy for Su Yingxue to save her. She had risked her life to send a note out, and her mother had pleaded with Su Yingxue. Even Su Yingxue had arrived just in time. Su Han couldn't care less about modesty and shame. She pulled the blanket away, revealing her swollen belly. Su Yingxue gently caressed her stomach. Indeed, it seemed like a pregnancy. When she touched it, she could even feel the fetal movement. However, this was not a normal fetal movement. Qinhuan mentioned that when Su Han was initially diagnosed with pregnancy, she was only 2 months pregnant, yet her belly had grown significantly in just a few days. That was the reason for such an anomaly. Su Yingxue re-examined Su Han's pulse. It fluctuated significantly, but it wasn't a healthy pulse. Whatever was in her stomach, sister, can you take off your clothes and let me take a look? Su Yingxue inquired with a serious demeanor. Su Han bit her lip shyly. One can do it if you're alone, but, her concerned gaze fell on Saint Juan. He was still a young and handsome man. Although he served as Su Yingxue's assistant, Su Han had to adhere to the rules of a married woman. She couldn't allow other men to see her body. Sister, he is Saint Juan, the poison doctor. In the eyes of a doctor, there is no distinction between male and female. If there are symptoms of poisoning, Saint Juan might be able to observe them more clearly than me. This was also the reason why Su Yingxue brought Saint Juan along. Of course, she understood that Su Han's upbringing and status made it challenging for her to accept a male doctor, especially someone like Saint Juan, who appeared to be a playboy. Saint Juan's face was filled with disdain. I've been a doctor for so many years, and I detest shy women the most. If you don't want to see me, then forget it. Having said that, he tossed away the medicine box and turned to leave. Wait. Su Han gritted her teeth, her pretty face turning red. She slowly unbuttoned her clothes, revealing her belly. No matter how sister treats me, I only want you to cure me. One don't want to die. This. I don't want it either. Her eyes were brimming with tears, and her determined appearance tugged at one's heart. Su Yingxue held her hand and reassured her. Sister, don't be afraid. There's no such thing as a ghost fetus in this world. If the ailment could be diagnosed, it could undoubtedly be cured. Su Yingxue pulled the reluctant Saint Juan to Su Han's bedside. Come here and take a good look. What's wrong with my sister's stomach? Chapter 510 I should just cripple him. Saint Juan didn't bother about it and began diagnosing alongside Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue frowned. There's a living entity in sister's stomach, but it's not a child. It is similar to pregnancy symptoms, leading to a misdiagnosis. 11-inch. This entity must have initially been small and gradually grew to this point inside your sister's stomach. Saint Juan, who rarely took pulses, observed. He stroked his chin and pondered for a moment. Did you have any issues with your diet before, or any unusual signs before your stomach enlarged? Su Han had pondered over his questions during her days of confinement. Before the pregnancy diagnosis, my diet was normal. Min Jia often brought me some food, but one rarely consumed it. After 3 days of continuous deliveries, one instructed my men to put it away, and one never touched it again. Sister is right to be cautious. Su Yingxue's eyes darkened. Su Han was well aware of the machinations and tactics of the women in the residence, so she had been extremely careful. Yet, even with such caution, this still happened. From Su Yingxue's perspective, this was not ordinary. Where else have you been before? Did anything different happen? Saint Juan, now serious, shed his nonchalant aura. Su Han had something on her mind. I did, but one can't let others know about it. Otherwise, my mother-in-law will scold me for being insensible again. Su Yingxue sat beside her, holding her hand. Su Han's voice carried a touch of sadness. A few days ago, Min Jia invited me out. Knowing her penchant for making things difficult, I usually found ways to avoid her. However, at that time one couldn't escape and went to her courtyard. Yet, she wasn't there. Instead, one accidentally fell into the lotus pond in her courtyard. The pond was deep, and I almost drowned. Fortunately, my maid, Yuan, was quick-witted and called for help in time. Later, when one confronted Min Jia in anger, I distinctly felt someone pushing me from behind. But she not only evaded responsibility, my mother-in-law also even hit me. As Su Han spoke, tears streamed down her face. Su Yingxue stomped her foot in anger. It seems the dozens of lashes she received were too lenient. One she should have directly pressured Yihan to cripple Madame Xing. Let's see if she still has the strength to bully Su Han. Su Yingxue thought. At that time, one was already diagnosed with pregnancy, and fearing for the child, my mother advised me to settle the matter peacefully and give birth first. One didn't take it to heart, but unexpectedly, my stomach grew bigger, and they locked me in the room, wanting me to die on my own. Hatred glinted in Su Flan's eyes. Despite her efforts to please her mother-in-law and sister-in-law and endure their disdain due to her low status, she couldn't lead a stable life in this mansion. While Su Yingxue focused on Su Yilan's predicament and contemplated how to treat her stomach, Saint Juan raised his eyebrows. You mentioned falling into the lotus pond in the county head's courtyard. 11 Su Han nodded. Yes, one was pushed into the water that day. Saint Juan seemed to have an idea. He pointed at Su Han's belly. Think about how to treat her belly. It'll go to the lotus pond. Good. Su Yingxue nodded. Although she wasn't sure of Saint Ron's intentions, he always had his ways. Su Yingxue administered an injection to Su Han and provided her with hot water and snacks to replenish her strength. Chapter 5:11. To save his life or his reputation. When Saint Juan returned, he was covered in mud, looking dirty. However, he held a lotus leaf in his hands like a treasure. He approached Su Yingxue, blinking his eyes. Look, what's this? Bugs. Su Han screamed in fear and hid behind Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue looked at Saint Juan's expression and knew that he wasn't trying to scare Su Han. She thought of Su Han's belly and raised her eyebrows in surprise. That's right. Look at this pile. I fished them out from the pond. The eggs of the bug are small and hard to detect. If your sister drank the dirty water from the pond when she fell and swallowed all these, it wouldn't be strange for the bug to grow in her stomach and cause it to bloat. After Saint Juan finished gesturing, he casually tossed the bug aside. After washing his hands, he reminded the frightened Su Han, by the way, when I went to the pool to fish, one found that the pool had been intentionally cleaned. However, these bugs that live in the wild have a strong reproductive ability, and it can't be cleaned up quickly. He mentioned it casually, but Su Han bit her lip, and blood trickled down the corner of her mouth, the taste both salty and bitter. Sister, I'll go and discuss with Saint Juan how to treat this. Su Yingxue helped Su Han lie down and followed Saint Juan outside the screen. Su Yingxue didn't regret bringing Saint Juan over today. You're experienced and knowledgeable. You must have seen the same patient. Did you cure her back then? If it was cured, I wouldn't have remembered it. Killing the bug with medicine damages the human body. However, if one didn't use medicine, they would eat the human body in a mess, leading only to death. Back then, when one used medicine to kill bugs, that person's body couldn't take it. Later on, he refused to drink medicine, so I could only let him fend for himself. But one can't let my sister die on her own. She can't die. Since Su Yingxue had promised Qin Wan to save Su Han's life, she couldn't go back on her word. If it was in the past, one would have pulled you out of this mess. But now that you've learned how to perform surgery, your sister can be saved. Dissecting the bug. Why not? Saint Wan raised his eyebrows playfully. Su Yingxue turned around and explained her and Saint Wan's thoughts to Su Han. Su Han listened as if hearing a fantasy. What? A C-section. To cut open my stomach and then take out the bug in my stomach. Su Yingxue nodded. You're right. No, I can't. One dare not. This. No. Su Han was so scared that her body trembled. Her stomach had been hurting, and she held it with tears streaming down her face. I've never heard of anyone surviving after having their stomach cut open. If people find out that my stomach is full of bugs, how can I survive after taking them out? Su Han was extremely depressed. She was already a married woman, and she had to bear not only her honor but also her family's reputation. You can preserve your reputation if you die, Saint Wan sneered. He was a man of the martial world, and he despised women like Su Han. She accepted her fate from birth. Once her reputation was lost, there was only a dead end. Saint Wan glanced at Su Yingxue, who was dressed in red. Yes, this young girl could live longer. Su Yingxue frowned. If there was another way, she would not want this to happen. Chapter 5:12. The moment Su Yingxue attacked, she hit a pig head. Sister, Saint Wan was unable to cure the patient before. He might not be able to develop a suitable medicine to ensure that your body can withstand it. If you don't agree to my surgery for the sake of your reputation, one have nothing to say. They'll just take it that I've let down aunt and uncle's trust. Su Yingxue understood Su Yilan's dilemma, so she refrained from trying to persuade her. However, she addressed Su Han's medical concerns. You may not believe in the effectiveness of the surgery, but my father underwent the same procedure with my hands and is still living well. I have also performed abdominal surgery for the eldest princess of Qi State. Su Han gripped the blanket tightly. Though I am afraid, I do not doubt sister's medical skills. It's just that this abdominal parasite extraction, she covered her face and cried, unable to accept the cruel reality. Su Yingxue didn't force Su Han. Instead, she administered some mild medicine to nourish her body. As Su Han had just fallen asleep, Min Jia County Lord arrived with her entourage. Behind her was Madame Xing, barely standing with assistants. Min Jia's face was red and swollen, resembling a pig's head, as she shouted, Su Yingxue, if you dare lay a hand on me, you won't leave the regional prince's mansion safely today. With a wave, dozens of mansion servants rushed towards Su Yingxue. Saint Wan swiftly raised his sleeves. Watch me incapacitate them with poison. Before the group of people could even touch Su Yingxue, they were mesmerized by Saint Wan's poison powder. They fell to the ground one after another, foaming at the mouth. You! Witchcraft! Min Jia hid behind Madame Xing, frightened. Call for help. Quickly, inform everyone that Su Han and her family are all witches. Madame Xing, be cautious in your words, lest you injure your tongue. Su Yingxue's gaze turned stern. A tiny needle flew from her hand, rendering Madame Xing speechless. Oh! Madame Xing's eyes darted nervously, recalling Su Yingxue's comment about injuring her tongue. She trembled in fear. Mother, what's happening to you? Su Yingxue, you witch, what have you done to my mother? Min Jia stomped her feet in panic, avoiding Su Yingxue as if afraid of suffering the same fate as her mother. What's going on? The old regional prince, though elderly, rushed over. Seeing Madame Sheng and Min Jia surrounded, he sighed, "Madam, what has happened?" "Master, she. It's a witch." "I can't articulate." Madame Sheng struggled to speak, her tongue couldn't move, and in pain. Min Jia pointed at Su Yingxue, complaining to her father. "Dad, Su Yingxue is a witch, just like Su Han, carrying a ghost fetus. Everyone with the surname Su is a witch. Dad, kill them." "Shut up." The old regional prince was almost taken aback. Su Yingxue was brought in by Yihan, and he had shown respect. Yet, his daughter, oblivious to the consequences, publicly labeled Su Yingxue a witch. "Father, why are you still standing there? Hurry up and kill them." Min Jia wished she could turn Su Yingxue into a pig's head as well. However, the old regional prince not only refrained from taking action but also scolded her. It was only when a cold, stern voice reminded him, "Su Yingxue is a witch. What about you?" I am the county lord." Chapter 513. Try the torturers in my mansion. A moment ago, Min Jia had stopped moving and stood confidently. However, the next moment, upon seeing Yihan's expression, she instantly collapsed to the ground. Her face turned ashen as she cried out, "Ninth Imperial Uncle." If the arrogant and domineering disciples of the imperial family had any fear for their elders, it wasn't their parents or the emperor. It was Yihan. When Yihan was at the peak of his influence, they were still playing by the palace walls. Now, upon hearing Yihan's inquiry, Min Jia immediately lowered her head and explained politely, "Imperial uncle, please forgive me." Min Jia didn't mean to offend. It's just that Su Yingxue deliberately struck Min Jia, leaving Min Jia's mother could not speak. "Min Jia is afraid she might be a witch, so I did this." "Is that so?" Yihan's gaze shifted to Su Yingxue. His eyes were dark and profound, making it impossible to discern his expression. Saint Juan suddenly felt a sense of danger. Is Yihan planning to teach you a lesson for his niece? He leaned on Su Yingxue's shoulder and said sneakily. Su Yingxue promptly stepped on his foot. "Your Highness, I did hit the county lord, but it was the county lord who provoked me. I can't just stand there and let her hit me, right?" Su Yingxue responded confidently. Yihan walked to her side with a stern face. "Which hand hit her?" Su Yingxue glanced behind him. "I was afraid of getting dirty, so I used the county lord's own hands to hit her." Min Jia gritted her teeth. Su Yingxue's words were infuriating. Yihan patted Su Yingxue's head and said gently, "You're smart enough. Otherwise, if your hand hurts, I'll feel sorry for you." Min Jia was shocked by his words. The old regional prince gulped and fell silent. Madame Sheng's eyes widened. Perhaps it was because the needle had been swallowed, but she could only open her mouth to curse. "How can your highness be so biased? Su Yingxue hurt my Min Jia, but your highness doesn't stand up for her. Instead, you care for this slut." "Slut?" Yihan raised his eyebrows. He observed that although Madame Sheng was being supported by the servants, she could still stand. Thinking of the beating at the door, he looked at the old regional prince. It seems that the executioners in Imperial Brother's residence are too lax. One will send 2 people to Imperial Brother. No. This is unnecessary. Your Highness, the old regional prince thought he couldn't accept such good intentions, but he didn't expect a mochi to bring people over so quickly. Yihan waved his hand. "Let your wife have a try. How about my men carry out the punishment?" The men brought by Mochi dragged Madame Xing over without any explanation. They were from the prince's mansion and had a military background, making them quite adept at beating people. Madame Xing raised her head and screamed in agony. "Ah! It hurts! Master, save me! Master, save me!" Madame Xing was pressed down hard. She would scream in pain every time she was hit. Saint Wand clicked his tongue. As expected of Yihan. How ruthless. She could even give up her life by scolding Su Yingxue's slut. Su Yingxue looked expressionless, but a flower had quietly bloomed in her heart. As expected, when your highness protected her, he was even more ruthless than the king of the underworld. After only 10 hits, Madame Xing had already passed out, foaming at the mouth. The old regional prince trembled as he begged Yihan. "My wife insulted Miss Su and was rude. But please spare her for my sake, your highness." If this continued, Madame Xing would not be able to see the sun tomorrow. Yihan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned around and rubbed Su Yingxue's head. "Are you still angry?" Chapter 514, The Reason Why Su Han Got Sick. Su Yingxue shook her head. She wasn't angry at Madame Xing. Her gaze shifted to Min Jia County Lord. Min Jia County Lord trembled all over, her watery eyes filled with fear. "Su Yingxue, what are you? What are you doing? Don't look at me. Don't come over." She didn't want to get beaten. She didn't want to end up like her mother, beaten half to death by Yihan. Quickly, she crawled in front of Yihan, grabbing his robe to plead for mercy. Imperial Uncle, I was wrong. Don't hit me. I won't dare to do it again." Yihan coldly pulled out his robe and commanded her, apologized to her. His concerned gaze remained on Su Yingxue, staring at her as if she were a rare treasure. Min Jia County Lord hated her guts. Why should she apologize to Su Yingxue? If it weren't for Yihan, she would have pressed Su Yingxue's head against the ground and rubbed it. But now, "I'm sorry, Miss Su. I didn't mean to offend you." Min Jia gritted her teeth. Her cheeks were red and swollen. "Oh." Su Yingxue replied indifferently. The matter was put behind her, and she focused on Su Han's condition. Su Han's husband, Xiaotian, hadn't returned yet. So Su Yingxue waited in the front hall and informed the old regional prince about Su Han's illness. The old regional prince's heart was pounding when he heard that. How did this bug get into my daughter-in-law's body? It's unbelievable. You'll have to ask Min Jia County Lord about that. Sister fell into the lotus pond in her courtyard, and Saint Ruan found that the lotus pond in her courtyard had just been cleaned recently. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows and looked at Min Jia. "I'm afraid sister was the first to fall into the lotus pond of the Min Jia County Lord, right? Why didn't you clean it up earlier or later? Why did you have to clean it up after sister fell into the water? This county lord's lotus pond is taken care of by someone and will be cleaned up every once in a while. Why would I care about such a small matter?" Min Jia pretended to be calm, but her eyes kept rolling, revealing a trace of panic. Yihan's hand was always on Su Yingxue's hand. As long as she moved her hand, he would be able to help her. However, Su Yingxue didn't want to make a move at this time. She didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble for Yihan. The old regional prince was troubled. The family affairs have always been handled by the eldest daughter-in-law. Everything in her hands is in order, and the entire family is in her hands. Now that she has this illness, he didn't know what to do. His wife was ill, and his son had not returned. If he decided for his eldest daughter-in-law, old regional prince, the worms in my sister's stomach have already started to eat away at her body and absorb her nutrients. My sister's body is weak. If we delay any longer, her life will be in danger. Su Yingxue's eyes were filled with anxiety. The old regional prince clenched his fists. Just as he was tensed up, a voice came from outside the door. The prince is back. The old regional prince's eyes lit up. Xiaotian is back. His most promising eldest son was working in the 5 cities military department. He had power in his hands and had some achievements, which made him happy. Xiaotian was dressed in a long green robe and was dressed in night dew. He looked noble and imposing. It seemed that he had been busy for days. There was a trace of fatigue in his eyes. Under the candlelight, his eyes looked even colder. He first called out to his father before walking over to Yihan. He bowed and cupped his hands. Greetings, Imperial Uncle. I came back late due to official business. Please forgive me. No worries. Yihan's tone was indifferent. Before Xiaotian entered the house, he had already figured out most of the situation. He rarely asked about the family affairs because Su Han was considerate and had always taken care of the house. But now that she was sick, he had to think about it. Chapter 5:15. Send Proposition. Su Yingxue explained the plan she had just discussed in detail to Xiaotian. Although Xiaotian seemed incredulous, he didn't react as foolishly as Min Jia, uttering nonsense about ghost fetuses and demonic arts. Instead, he furrowed his brow and asked, Miss Su, can you determine that your sister's illness is a result of swallowing lake insect eggs during the near-drowning incident? Su Yingxue nodded and pointed to the insects and eggs on the lotus leaf beside Saint Juan. If your highness doubts, you can go and see for yourself. Of course, if you want to test it, you can have County Lord Min Jia eat these eggs to see if her condition becomes similar to your sister's. It's a feasible option. Don't even think about it. This one won't eat it. Min Jia's reaction was overly dramatic, not at all like someone just realizing the danger of these eggs. It seemed she had prior knowledge, staying far away from these dirty things. Saint Juan looked at her with a smirk and said to Su Yingxue, I bet this was her doing. Su Yingxue just twitched her lips. These scores would be settled later. For now, she needed Xiaotian to make a decision. After all, Su Han was his wife. Xiaotian pondered for a moment. Today is already late. Even if it's surgery, it might not be convenient. How about one inform Miss Su tomorrow when I've made a decision? There's nothing inconvenient about that. I can. Saint Juan jumped up, wanting to propose a plan, but Su Yingxue gave him a look, signaling him to shut up. Saint Juan snorted and had to stop. Approaching Xiaotian, Su Yingxue frowned deeply. According to etiquette, I should address your highness as a brother-in-law. I am an outsider and shouldn't interfere in your family affairs. All my actions today were to save my sister's life. One hope your highness won't blame me. However, I have something to tell your highness. Sister is the descendant of my Marquis Manor, the grandson of the Defender General, and the daughter of the Waywood General. If any harm befalls her again in the regional prince's mansion, be it the Marquis Manor or the General Manor, one must seek justice for sister. Xiaotian's eyes narrowed in shock. Before him was a 16 or 17-year-old girl. Her face was as beautiful as a flower, but her cold gaze and steady demeanor were beyond what even he, the regional prince, could match. Truly admirable. Xiaotian grunted and personally saw Yihan off with them. In Yihan's carriage, Su Yingxue placed her hands on her knees and cupped her small face with a heavy expression. Yihan helped her put away the medicine box and pinched her cheeks. His voice was gentle as he asked, "What are you thinking about?" "Oh. I was thinking about my cousin, and I was also thinking, myself." Su Yingxue had no choice but to turn her head and look up at Yihan. Yihan simply cupped her face in his palm and let her lie on his lap. He caressed her long hair and said, "Your sister's situation is different from yours, but what did you think of?" Su Yingxue's fingers drew small circles on Yihan's knees. "Sister is also grandfather's granddaughter. She is dignified, elegant, and talented. However, she married into the regional prince's mansion, but her life is not good at all. Her mother-in-law bullies her, and her sister-in-law bullies her. Her husband might not even love her, but she still has to work hard to manage the regional prince's mansion." These days were bitter just thinking about it. She couldn't imagine how Su Han, who looked so weak, could bear all of this. "You're different from her, so you naturally don't have to suffer from her." Chapter 5:16 I got the question wrong. Yihan's broad palm gently caressed her soft long hair, and his heart warmed. "But if one marry your highness in the future, one will also marry into the prince's mansion and take charge of the family affairs. One will also encounter the experiences of my mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and the hardships my cousin is going through." Su Yingxue had a headache. She couldn't learn from Su Yilan's forbearance with her fists and bad temper. Yihan chuckled. "She has a mother-in-law and sister-in-law that you don't have. What you have it all for me." Although he said that, Su Yingxue's heart softened when she heard that. She couldn't help but ask, "Then, if one also had a mother-in-law and a sister-in-law, would your highness still protect me like now?" She raised her head, her eyes shining like scattered stars, captivating. Outside the carriage door, both Mo-chi and Saint Wan shivered involuntarily. Mo-chi remarked, "This is a tricky question. How should he answer it? In case his master didn't answer correctly, tonight might be a sleepless one." Saint Wan shook his head. "One have no idea. When one got married, there weren't these messy problems." Thinking about it, Saint Wan felt fortunate that he had been a bachelor for decades, avoiding the squeezing pressure between mother and wife. But suddenly, he perked up his ears. He was very curious about how Yihan would answer such a question. Su Yingxue looked at Yihan obediently, her clear and bright eyes filled with anticipation. Yihan responded without hesitation, "There's no need to worry about things that don't exist. If you marry me, these problems won't arise." Su Yingxue was left speechless. Although what he said was true, why did she feel a bit disappointed? Greedy women always desired to obtain all of his affection. Even the issues with a mother-in-law and a sister-in-law couldn't take away that kind of favor. However, despite her greed, Yihan was already treating her very well. She couldn't complain. First, she went to her uncle's house and informed them about Su Han's illness. In the main hall, Qin Wan covered her face, sobbing silently. "Hainer has contracted such a strange illness. Even if it can be cured by cutting open her abdomen, I'm afraid that in the future," Qin Wan found it hard to articulate. She understood too well the hardships faced by women. No woman with scars on her body would escape being disliked by her husband and family. With this illness, no matter how well Su Han managed the regional prince's mansion, everything she had done well would be wiped away. Sigh. As a father, all of Su Dingheng's anxiety and heartache could only be expressed with a heavy sigh. Su Yingxue could empathize well. "Uncle, aunt, one shouldn't overly concern myself with sister's family matters. However, since I'm a doctor, one will do my best to treat sister. I'll wait for news from the brother-in-law at the Marquis Manor. If he agrees, I will immediately prepare for sister's surgery. This is the only way for now." Su Dingheng's gaze was solemn. Qin Wan worried that Su Han would have a difficult time in the future, but she was sensible and knew that saving Su Han's life was more critical. She held Su Yingxue's hand and escorted her out of the Marquis Manor, expressing profuse gratitude as she left. Yingxue, although we moved out of the Marquis Manor and went our separate ways long ago, we are still a family connected by blood. If you ever need anything in the future, uncle and aunt will do our best for you. Thank you, Auntie. Su Yingxue bowed. Even though she might not need this favor, the feeling of having relatives was genuinely comforting. In her previous life, her father believed Lu Shulan's slanderous words. After obtaining the title of nobility, he started arguing about splitting up the family. Chapter 517. Let Su Han apologize. The few uncles and aunts had all moved out of the Marquis Manor in a fit of pique and established their own families. Grandpa frequently went on expeditions and had no time to attend to family matters. As a result, the Su family was now under the control of Su Dingheng and Su Yurou. Now that she was the head of the Marquis Manor, she had expelled deceitful individuals and was determined to rebuild the family. In the regional prince's mansion, Xiaotian hastily returned home. His military and administrative duties were not yet complete, so he first went to study. After dealing with official matters, he proceeded to his father's room for a conversation. In the room, the old regional prince sighed, and Madame Xing, in pain from applying medicine, had awakened several times, crying and lamenting. Upon seeing her son, she clung to his clothes, crying breathlessly. If you had come back any later, you wouldn't have seen your mother. I'm being bullied by that woman in your room. Xiaotian helped her up, his handsome face exhibiting a hint of coldness. Mother offended Ninth Imperial Uncle today. It has nothing to do with Hainer. How can it not to do with her? Madame Xing widened her eyes. If it weren't for that woman in your room being dramatic and making her mother call Su Yingxue, why would Su Yingxue bring Ninth Prince here? How would I end up like this? Madame Xing twisted the cause and effect into a convoluted explanation, attempting to shift the blame onto Su Han. Xiaotian wasn't easily deceived. If mother had allowed Hainer to seek medical attention early, you wouldn't be in this state. Su Yingxue's medical skills are exceptional, and her status is now extraordinary. Despite knowing that Ninth Imperial Uncle protects her, mother publicly insulted her. Do you now understand how formidable Ninth Imperial Uncle is? Xiaotian's words left Madame Xing speechless. Both he and his father knew that Ninth Imperial Uncle was highly esteemed and untouchable, even by the Emperor. He protected Su Yingxue, yet his mother persistently labeled her as a woman of low character. How could this situation be acceptable? Not killing his mother was already a concession to the regional prince's mansion's reputation. The old regional prince sipped his tea and rebuked Madame Xing. You accused me before, saying you wanted your son to come back and take charge. Listen to what he said. Do you still think I was wrong? Ninth Imperial Brother was the former emperor's favorite, and even Imperial Brother wouldn't dare speak to him like this. You insulted his beloved, aren't you asking for trouble? You useless pair. You let me suffer in vain, and each one of you fears that Yihan. I don't want to live anymore. Ah! Madame Xing pounded her chest and stomped her feet, crying incessantly. She even pulled out a white silk to hang herself. Xiaotian, troubled by her antics, suggested bringing Su Han to apologize. Only then did Madame Xing abandon her suicidal thoughts. Su Han couldn't fall asleep. When Xiaotian woke her up and saw his handsome face, her grievance turned into tears. She wanted to jump into his arms and cry. However, Xiaotian merely said, Mother was beaten today and is upset. Go apologize to her and let her rest early. Mother, Su Han's tears were held back in her eyes, and her heart felt bitter. Sitting on the bed with her head lowered, she refused to move. Xiaotian sat in front of her, asking, "What's wrong?" "It's already late and mother is already injured. If she doesn't rest, it will be difficult for her to recover. Go quickly and coax mother to sleep." Han tightly gripped the blanket, her knuckles turning white. The grievance in her heart was like a volcano about to erupt. Tears streamed down her cheeks, and she spoke in a low, hoarse voice. "Is your mother the only one in your heart? Are you not going to inquire about my well-being?" Chapter 518. Before the surgery, I was still being bullied. Xiaotian was slightly taken aback, and then his tone became more serious. Mother is the elder, so naturally, her feelings should be considered first. Your sister has already come to see you today, you've taken the medicine, and now you can talk to me nicely. What's so difficult about apologizing to mother? Han could sense that Xiaotian strongly wanted her to go. However, her heart felt as if it had been torn open. She looked at Xiaotian with tears in her eyes. "If one apologized to your mother, will she and your sister apologize to me?" She questioned Xiaotian, but a hint of displeasure appeared on Yihan's face. "Why should they apologize to you? You're the eldest sister-in-law, so you don't have to be calculating with her. Mother is an elder, so how can you expect her to apologize to you? If you don't want to go today, you should rest early." Xiaotian rarely treated Han like this after their marriage. Even though he had many concubines in the mansion, he never mistreated Han due to favoritism. It was because he knew that Han was a dignified woman. But tonight, she was not dignified and inappropriate, which made him very disgusted. Han collapsed onto the bed weakly. She could only cry the whole night. She loved Xiaotian, so no matter how difficult it was to marry him or how much she suffered in this family, she never complained. She had always done things properly so that Xiaotian did not have any worries. However, Xiaotian did not care about her at all today. He left in a huff just because she refused to apologize to his mother. Han's passionate heart turned cold as if it had been thrown into an ice pool. She quietly lifted the blanket and looked at her swollen stomach. Tears welled up in her eyes. Yingxue waited in the Marquis manor for an entire day, but Xiaotian did not give her any news. On the second day, Qinwan cried and came to beg her. "Yingxue, Hainer sent news that she has unbearable abdominal pain. Has the regional prince's mansion invited you over?" Yingxue shook her head. "One haven't received any news from my brother-in-law. Regional Prince Yan gone. What should we do? How is your sister's health?" When Qinwan learned that her daughter was in pain, she was anxious and heartbroken. If she underwent surgery that day, these days of recuperation should have led to recovery. If this continues, even if the surgery is successful, her organs will be damaged. Saint Juan played with the poison in his hand and rolled his eyes. "I hate people from noble families. Saving lives isn't important. This mess is annoying." Saint Juan snorted. He was waiting for Yingxue to rush to his door. As expected, 15 minutes later, Yingxue prepared the surgical tools and instructed Saint Juan. "Carry the box." Saint Juan was overjoyed. "All right." When the two of them were ready, they rushed straight to the regional prince's mansion. This time, Yingxue didn't go to entangle with Madame Sheng and Princess Minjia. She planned to close the door and proceed directly with the surgery for Han. However, when she rushed in, she saw Han kneeling on the ground and kowtowing. By the lake, where the autumn wind was blowing, Madame Sheng and the Minjia county lord were surrounded by people enjoying themselves. They were stepping on soft carpets. However, Han was kneeling on the cold and hard stone floor. Two sturdy old women pressed her down from behind and kowtowed to Madame Xing. Her bloated stomach made her feel unbearable pain every time she bent over. She was still struggling stubbornly. I didn't do anything wrong. Slut. You still dare to deny it. Madame Xing kicked Su Han angrily. Chapter 519, You Want to Bully Su Yingxue. Su Han's head banged against the floor, and blood gushed out. Sister. Su Yingxue's heart tightened, and she rushed forward, wielding the surgical box to smash the heads of the two women, kicking them aside. Madame Xing looked at her in horror. You. Su Yingxue, why are you here again? Again. Su Yingxue glared at her. If I hadn't come, how would I have known that you two bad women would bully my sister again? She restrained Madame Xing and delivered a sound beating. The Minjia County Lord's face was still swollen, having received a beating from Su Yingxue as well. The two of them resembled a pair of pig-headed mother and daughter. Hey, look at your sister. Saint Juan hurried over with the medicine box, noticing Su Han on the ground. Su Han looked pitiful. Su Yingxue helped her up, staunching the bleeding on her forehead. Then, she hugged her with concern. Cousin, are you okay? She felt Su Han's pulse and her stomach. The pulse was worsening, and the worms in her stomach were becoming more active. Su Han's eyes brimmed with tears of hatred. Weakly, she could only utter two words, save me, don't worry, I'll save you. Su Yingxue had Saint Juan carry Su Han, and she turned towards Madame Xing and the Minjia County Lord. The Minjia County Lord, gripped by fear, shouted, Help! Someone come! Su Yingxue is assaulting people. Stop her! Madame Xing was injured and was leaning against the chaise lounge. She couldn't get off the bed and couldn't retreat. When Su Yingxue approached her, she panicked and threw the blanket at Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue, how dare you! My son is the Prince of Yangon County. If you dare hit me again, what will you do? Su Yingxue seized the thrown blanket, securing it around Madame Xing's neck. She tightened her grip, her gaze as ruthless as Hades. Do you still want me to kneel to you? Madame Xing contemplated. Of course, she desired to see Su Yingxue kneel and kowtow. How satisfying! But she couldn't do it. Su Yingxue tightened her hold, Madame Xing's face turned pale, her eyes bulging. Don't dare, no. Nevertheless, Su Yingxue exerted more force, her voice frigid. Do you still want to bully me as you did to my cousin? No, no, no. 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 Terrified, Madame Xing vowed not to dare again. She had been bold enough to bully Su Han because she was Su Han's mother-in-law, but she wouldn't dare to bully Su Yingxue anymore. Don't kill me, I beg you, Madame Xing cried out in fear. Su Yingxue, don't. Don't kill my mother. My mother, she. You can't kill her. Minjia County Lord screamed madly. She never expected Su Yingxue to be so terrifying. Su Yingxue didn't do anything else. She released Madame Xing and dragged the county lord over. She wrapped a blanket around their feet and tied them to the lake. Then, she kicked them into the lake. Watching them struggle in the water, gasping for breath and unable to get up, Su Yingxue snorted before turning to leave. Su Yingxue and Saint Juan brought Su Han back to her pharmacy. Su Han's condition was not good. All the tonics that she had prescribed for her had been taken down by the Minjia County Lord. Now, she was getting weaker and weaker, and she looked extremely haggard from the torture. Chapter 520, Chu Xiaotian did not agree to the surgery. Su Yingxue knew that Su Han was still conscious, so she leaned in and whispered, "Sister, your body can't hold on much longer. If we don't perform the surgery soon, there could be danger." Yingxue, Su Han's eyes filled with continuous tears, a mixture of pain, grievance, and resentment. Although Su Han felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that Su Yingxue had dealt with Madame Sheng and her daughter, Su Han still had reservations. "My husband, he hasn't agreed. Can you help me invite him over? I still have something to say to him." Surgery was a serious matter, and Su Han's well-being concerned not only herself. A wave of repulsion surged in Su Yingxue's heart. Under her mother's influence and Chu Yihan's affection, her character and beliefs had long departed from the outdated ways of the past. However, Su Han remained unchanged. She didn't force Su Ailan. She was about to send someone to inform Chu Xiaotian, but Chu Xiaotian had already arrived at the Marquis Manor aggressively. Su Yingxue had no choice but to change her clothes and go out to welcome him. Because Su Dingheng and his wife had also arrived with him. Su Dingheng and his wife naturally came to care about their daughter. When Qin Wan saw Su Yingxue, she went forward and held her hand. "Yingxue, how is Hainer now? I heard that she was injured." "Don't worry, Auntie. I've already treated cousin's wound. But for the surgery, we need brother-in-law, uncle, and auntie's consent." Su Yingxue comforted Qin Wan and turned her gaze to Chu Xiaotian. Though she didn't have a strong impression of him, Chu Yihan had mentioned that Chu Xiaotian was a powerful and capable figure within the imperial family. However, his current dark expression made his narrow eyes appear somewhat indifferent. Ignoring Su Han and the surgery, he stated, "Where is Su Han? I want to take her back to the residence and apologize to Mother and Min Jia by kowtowing." Su Yingxue's eyes flashed with hostility. "What did you say? Make my cousin apologize to them? Are they even worthy?" "Su Yingxue, don't be impudent. Even as the legitimate daughter of the Marquis Manor, my sister, Min Jia County Lord, cannot endure humiliation, let alone my mother. She is a noble madam. How dare you be so ruthless to them?" Despite his reservations, Chu Xiaotian couldn't contain his anger. Ruthless. Su Dingheng and Qin Wan were confused about the situation. Su Yingxue smirked. "I forgot to tell uncle and auntie that I barged into the regional prince's mansion and rescued cousin. One also gave Madame Xing and Min Jia County Lord a good beating, then tossed them into the lake to have a drink." This, Su Dingheng widened his eyes. Is this the right thing to do? Su Dingheng thought. Qin Wan was also surprised, but after calming down, she thought, "Yingxue, you're not an impulsive child. Was Han abused by them? Ha! Let the Prince of Yangon County ask his mother and sister. When I saw my sister, she was extremely weak, pressed to the ground, and forced to kowtow to Madame Sheng and Min Jia County Lord. Madame Sheng kicked my sister to the ground, and I couldn't help but teach them a lesson on my sister's behalf." Su Yingxue appeared calm on the surface, but her eyes carried an unresolvable coldness. Qin Wan trembled upon hearing this, and Su Dingheng quickly supported her. "Madam, be careful." After steadying herself, Qin Wan looked at Chu Xiaotian with teary eyes. Chapter 521, Do you despise my body so much? After Qin Wan steadied herself, she looked at Chu Xiaotian with tearful eyes and accused, "The innocent daughter of my Su family married into your prince's mansion. She has never made a mistake for so many years. She has suffered in your prince's mansion, but you still humiliate and torture her like this. Why? Why?" Qin Wan, born into a noble family, was dignified, so she had never spoken loudly to anyone in her life. But now, she didn't want to be so dignified, and she didn't want to be serious anymore. She just wanted to ask for her daughter. Why? Why does the mother-in-law think so? As my wife, shouldn't she serve her parents-in-law and treat her family with courtesy? She had done well in the past, but how did she do it this time? She didn't have a terminal illness, but she pretended to tell her family about it and caused everyone to suffer such humiliation. If she hadn't been sick, one would have immediately divorced her. What did you say? Su Dingheng had inherited old Master Su's fiery temper. Mi glared at her angrily. So what if you're the regional prince? My daughter was humiliated by you. Father-in-law, why don't you teach your daughter well first? Chu Xiaotian frowned coldly. He walked up to Su Yingxue and asked her for Su Han. Where is Su Han? I want to bring her back. You want to humiliate my cousin? Dream on. Su Yingxue touched the red jade soft whip on her waist. She planned to wait for Chu Xiaotian to take another step forward and directly treat him as his imperial aunt to teach him a lesson. Hey, wait. Saint Juan came out of the medicine hut and raised his eyebrows at Su Yingxue. Your sister wants to see him. When he said him, Saint Juan's gaze fell on Chu Xiaotian. Chu Xiaotian's face darkened as he followed Su Yingxue to the medicine hut. Su Dingheng and his wife also followed. Everyone was at the door, and Su Han asked for their permission to perform the surgery. Su Dingheng and Qin Wan had seen Su Dingheng after the surgery. He was full of energy and could make a scene. If he could cure Su Han, they would agree. However, Chu Xiaotian's gaze was cold and sunken. He curled his lips and said coldly, I do not agree. In the room, Su Han's heart twitched. With tears in her eyes, she asked, Husband, do you dislike me? Will there be any scars after the surgery? Su Han had smooth skin since she was a child, and she cherished it very much. If she didn't get such a disease, she wouldn't want to be hated by Chu Xiaotian in the future. If you don't cherish your body, who will cherish you in the future? Chu Xiaotian said righteously. He didn't want to lose interest in Su Han, whose skin was damaged. Besides, what's important now isn't your surgery, but my mother and sister. Both of them are sick because of you. If you don't go back and apologize to my mother, and she refuses to take the medicine, it'll be harder for her to recover. How are you going to make it up to her? Mother. You come over now. Not for me, but for me to go back and apologize to mother. Su Han's voice was trembling. She couldn't believe that her heart, which was thrown into the ice pool, had been broken by Chu Xiaotian. Her heart was broken. Yes. I will bring you back. Chu Xiaotian pushed open the door and rushed towards Su Han. When he pulled Su Han up, the quilt on her fell off, revealing her swollen belly, which made him frown subconsciously. Su Han saw the disgust in his eyes. The light in her eyes shattered. You despise my stomach so much because I'm sick, enough. No need to say anything more. No matter what illness you have, everything will wait until mother is willing to drink the medicine. Chu Xiaotian did not have the patience to talk to her. Chapter 522 I will not let you down. His mother had caught a cold, and her wound was infected. If she still refused to apply medicine and drink the medicine now, there would be danger. Is your mother about to die? Does your mother have to endure the pain of being eaten by the worms in her stomach? Su Han cried, her voice carrying a hint of sorrow. Chu Xiaotian was surprised. He grabbed Su Han's wrist and tightened his grip. Su Han, do you know what you're talking about? You are my wife, how dare you question me? I'm your wife. Your Highness, you still know that I'm your wife. Ever since we got married, I've told myself every day that I'm your wife. For you, I'll endure all kinds of pain and grievances. But my life is in danger now. Su Han had no choice but to open her wound and expose her belly. On her bulging belly, there were moving bugs that were gnawing at her body. She was suffering every moment. If she didn't take out the worm in her stomach soon, her life would be in danger. Xiaotian subconsciously shifted his gaze away. His voice was cold and deep. You're still fine now. What can you delay? You know her temper. If she doesn't calm down, she won't take the medicine. Do you want to see my mother die because she refuses to take the medicine? His questions were like a whip dipped in salt water, hitting Su Han's heart. Her delicate face was covered in tears, and her voice was choked with sobs. Your mother and I have such an obvious place in your heart. She had been sick for so long, but he had been busy outside and had never cared about her. On the other hand, his mother was injured, but he was so angry. All right, Su Han. You are my wife, obedient, sensible, gentle, and considerate. If you return to my residence and apologize to mother, I will naturally agree to protect your life, even if in the future. Xiaotian's gaze fell on her stomach and a trace of gloominess flashed in his eyes. Even if you have scars on your body in the future, one will not let you down. Your Highness is treating me like this now. Talk about what later? Su Han struggled to break free from his hand. One won't go back and apologize to Mom unless she apologizes to me first. Su Han's hand turned red when she used all her strength and a sharp pain spread in her heart. Xiaotian looked at her in a daze and snapped. Su Han, do you know what you are talking about? How can my mother apologize to you? What did she do wrong to you? Don't forget your identity, you are the princess of Yangon County. So, what if she's the princess of Yangon County? She's your mother's daughter-in-law. Does she have to suffer her humiliation and be framed to death? Su Yingxue kicked the door open. Her beautiful face was covered with a layer of frost. She had a majestic aura, and the coldness around her made people tremble uncontrollably. Su Yingxue, what nonsense are you talking about? Xiaotian scolded coldly. Since you are Heiner's sister, one will not hold it against you. However, you must not humiliate my mother. Otherwise, one will not forgive you. So what if one humiliated you? Was it not the truth? Your Highness was busy feeling sorry for your mother and comforting your sister, but did you ever care about my sister's health? She's in pain every moment now, and you're still delaying her surgery. When Su Yingxue mentioned it, anger filled her heart. Your Highness is a filial son, but our Heiner is not a woman without parents who care for her. The suffering that Heiner is going through now is heartbreaking for us parents. Qin Wan helped Su Han up and cried. Chapter 523. Xiaotian wants to divorce her. Su Dingheng, observing the situation, also spoke, Madam is right. Although our Su family may not be as prestigious as your Highness, we are not a small, easily bullied family. With Heiner seriously ill, having even a glimmer of hope for recovery is already a heavenly blessing. If Regional Prince insists on delaying her treatment, one will be the first to disagree. Cousin is also the daughter of the Marquis Manor. Grandpa is on his way back from the border. If he learns of this, he won't agree either. Regional Prince, you should think this through carefully. Su Yingxue declared with confidence. If it weren't for the fact that Su Han deeply loved Xiaotian, the chaos he caused today at the Marquis Manor might have led to several punches from the Regional Prince. Su Han looked at Su Yingxue gratefully. She leaned against her parents and felt much more at ease. Xiaotian had been silent all this while. The usually reserved him had his displeasure on his face. Su Han had been married to him for a few years, and she knew filial piety was his top priority. Therefore, she had to tolerate it when Madame Xing lectured her. Wiping away her tears, Su Han spoke in a low voice, "Husband, it's not that one don't want to return and explain everything to mother. It's just that I want to wait until after the surgery, and I recover from my illness. Then, you'll go back to the prince's mansion with you and properly face mother." Without hesitation, Chu Xiaotian retorted, "No. Come back with me now." He couldn't wait, and he couldn't tolerate it. He knew Su Han had been wrong this time, but what he couldn't accept was her resistance. Since the day he met Su Han, she had been gentle and obedient. Even though her social status didn't match him, he willingly married her despite family opposition. After several years of marriage, he had no regrets because Su Han always acquiesced to his wishes. He admired her grace and cherished her obedient nature. But now, she was not heeding his words, not being filial to his mother, and openly challenging his authority. Chu Xiaotian's face was cold, and his eyes were resolute. "Su Han, if you don't come back with me tonight, one will divorce you." Chu Xiaotian's eyes were filled with ruthlessness, causing Su Han's weakened body to tremble. "What did you say, husband? Divorce her?" Su Han felt like she had fallen into an ice-cold abyss, and tears streamed down uncontrollably. "Your Highness, think twice. You're humiliating the Su family." Su Dingheng clenched his fists tightly, and veins popped on his forehead. Qin Wan covered her hands with a handkerchief. She was shocked and panicked. Her instinctive reaction was that Su Han couldn't be divorced, or she wouldn't be able to live the rest of her life. Saint Juan saw Su Yingxue's hand on the red jade whip and blinked his peach blossom eyes as if watching a good show. "You want to make a move? Do you need help? I can tell that Chu Xiaotian's martial arts aren't weak either. Why don't I help you knock him out with poison first, then you can beat him up?" Su Yingxue had the same intention in her heart. Jilan quickly grabbed Su Yingxue's arm and whispered, "Miss, don't listen to Mr. Wan. Regional Prince's status is noble, he can't be beaten. Moreover, he is Miss Han's husband. If you hit him, Miss Han won't be able to live well in the Regional Prince's mansion. If she is divorced, Miss Han won't be able to face anyone. Miss Han is not like you." Xilan's last sentence made Su Yingxue put down her hand. Her heart sank. "Yeah, cousin isn't like me." Su Han didn't have medical skills, so she didn't have as many bargaining chips as Su Yingxue. She didn't have the entire Marquis manor to back her up. All she had now was Chu Xiaotian, her husband. Chapter 524. Return to the regional prince's mansion and apologize. Moreover, she could tell from Su Yilan's eyes that she loved this man. Su Han, with tears in her eyes, bit her lip and said, "Fine, I'll go back with you. But, husband, after mother takes the medicine, one must immediately come back for the surgery. The gnawing pain is truly unbearable." Su Han clutched her stomach. She felt excruciating pain with every passing moment of standing. But for Chu Xiaotian, she had to endure it. "Okay." Chu Xiaotian agreed, holding Su Han's hand and making a solemn promise, "As long as you apologize to mother, let her take the medicine and rest, I will personally accompany you for the surgery. Don't worry, even if there are consequences after the surgery, I will never mistreat you in the future." "Thank you, husband." In his words, Su Han felt that enduring a bit more grievance was nothing. Beside her, no matter how indignant Su Yingxue was, she couldn't say anything. However, Qin Wan was even more worried. She held Su Yingxue's arm. "Yingxue, it's late. I'm afraid Hainer will endure unbearable pain on the way. You're a doctor. Auntie is pleading with you to go with her." In Qin Wan's eyes, there was an overflow of emotions, the deep love of a mother for her daughter evident in her tearful gaze. Su Dingheng, a tough man accustomed to warfare, softened his tone at this moment and joined in. Yingxue, I'm also entrusting you to accompany Hainer and bring her back for the surgery. Su Yingxue pursed her lips. All right, I'll accompany cousin. She looked at her tall brother-in-law and said solemnly, brother-in-law, I'll accompany my sister. Xiaotian was extremely unwilling. If it were anyone else, he would certainly refuse. However, Su Yingxue's identity was unique. She was entrusted by Su Han's parents and was also valued by his 9th imperial uncle. If he rejected her, his 9th imperial uncle would give him a hard time in the 5 cities military department, which would affect his career and future. He had to swallow his anger. Fine. With a heavy heart, he led Su Han into the carriage along with Su Yingxue. Before Su Yingxue left, she instructed Saint Wan and Yihan. Prepare the things needed for the surgery. Once one bring my sister back, well immediately get ready for the operation. Yihan nodded. Saint Wan whistled coldly. I doubt it. Let's talk when you can bring her back. Given Su Han's temperament, even with Su Yingxue around, she would likely have a few bones broken by the old witch and her daughter when she returned. Do you prepare it or not? Su Yingxue's gaze, sharp as a knife, fell on Saint Wan. Saint Wan waved his hand impatiently. All right, all right. I'll prepare. Just go. Su Yingxue and Su Han returned to the prince's mansion in Yangon County. She helped Su Han back to Madame Xing's courtyard. Before entering the room, they heard a commotion inside. The steward was pacing anxiously outside the door, sweating profusely. Seeing Xiaotian return, he greeted him like a savior. Your Highness, you're finally back. Madame's wound is infected and suppurating, and she has caught a cold. She refuses to take her medicine now. The doctor says that if we delay any longer, Madame's life will be in danger. Su Han's heart sank. Is it that serious? Although she detested Madame Xing for favoring the Minjia county lord and causing her so much suffering, Madame Xing was still Xiaotian's mother. If she died, Su Han would feel sorry for Xiaotian. Sister, don't worry. Have you ever seen someone in critical condition making such a loud noise? Su Yingxue rolled her eyes while supporting Su Han. Chapter 525. Why did he have to speak so harshly? She didn't need to feel the pulse to know that Madame Xing wouldn't die anytime soon. The loud noise was so intense that even the king of the underworld might hesitate to claim her soul. The steward naturally felt sorry for his master. When he saw Su Yingxue, he couldn't help but express his displeasure. The doctors in the prince's mansion are highly skilled, unlike some who only rely on talking to treat patients. Are you saying I only rely on talking to treat patients? Su Yingxue sneered. Why don't I go in now and check Madame's pulse, maybe even diagnose her condition? No need. Xiaotian frowned. Madame Xing had been injured by Su Yingxue, and being a woman who cared about her appearance, asking Su Yingxue to check her pulse might drive her insane. Miss Su, please wait outside. I will take Hainer inside and persuade mother to take her medicine. Xiaotian was remarkably polite to Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue, seeing Xiaotian enter the room, even extended his hand to assist Su Han before reluctantly handing Su Han over to him. She instructed Su Han, sister, remember to call me if you need anything. Su Han gratefully nodded. Thank you, sister. She had helped Su Yingxue once that day. Now, Su Yingxue had helped her too much. She entered Madame Xing's room with Xiaotian and comforted her gently. Madame Xing was in a fit of anger. Her lower body had been beaten so badly that she couldn't move, and her face was swollen from soaking in the water. Lying on the bed, she looked like a shrew selling vegetables. Seeing Su Han enter, her anger flared even more. Slut, you dare to come back. Madame Xing had already smashed everything around her. As the old regional prince handed her a cup of tea, she grabbed it and threw it at Su Han. The old regional prince widened his eyes. Madam, you can't. Oh. Su Han, unable to move or dodge, was hit by the teacup on her shoulder. The scalding tea made her skin burn like fire. She instinctively called out to her husband, but Chu Xiaotian coldly released her hand. Chu Xiaotian approached Madame Xing, covered her with a blanket, and ordered someone to bring her a bowl of medicine. Mother, you're injured, and Hainer is too. Are you feeling better now? Since things have come to this, let's not make a fuss. Your health is more important. Hearing this, Su Han felt like cold water was poured over her head. So it wasn't that Chu Xiaotian didn't have time to save her earlier. He did it intentionally. He allowed Madame Xing to pour tea on her, watch her suffer, and hurt her to let out her anger. Su Han smiled bitterly, covering her face to hold back the tears. The old regional prince saw her grievance and understood that it was his wife causing trouble. Su Han was innocent. He ordered a servant girl to bring cold water and a handkerchief for Su Han to wipe. He said in a low voice, "Daughter-in-law, you're a sensible child. It's been hard for you to come back this time. Your mother-in-law didn't do it on purpose. Don't take it to heart." Madame Xing had splashed hot tea all over Su Han's body. She felt much better, but when she heard the old regional prince's comforting words, her anger flared up again. She raised her hand and knocked over the bowl of medicine that Chu Xiaotian was holding. "You shameless woman," she scolded. "You seduced others to cause trouble in the residence, and you even got me beaten up. You even caused your sister to almost be disfigured. Now, do you think you can show off just because you have the protection of the Su family? In your dreams. Grandmother." Su Han gritted her teeth, tears in her eyes. "Why do you have to make it sound so unpleasant?